Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey, Dinkar.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, so there is a podcast that all of us from Geek Fruit have been on called Made in India.
Yes, I love that podcast.
Yes, it's amazing because it's about music, which is something that we all love and do as like a profession.
Yes.
But the coolest thing is that now Made in India is going to go live for the first time and it's going to happen in Bombay.
I've been waiting for this for a while.
Yeah, it's taken a while, but I think it's going to be explosive.
It's going to be great.
It's happening at Anti-Social Car on the 27th of July. And none other than one of our favorite bands, Black Star Blues, will be opening it. Starts at 8 p.m. Free entry. It's free. That's amazing.
Okay.
I've never
Much
been
like
for,
the podcast.
I've never been for a Black Star Blues gig, which is free, which is amazing. So all you have to do is RSVP on insider.in, type Black Star Blues or Made in India or both, and get your tickets immediately.
We'll see you all there.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. My name is Tejas. I have Dinkar with me today. Hi Dinkar.
Hey, Tejas, what's up?
What's up, man? I'll tell you what's up. We succumbed and watched a Hindi film.
We watch Hindi films once in a while, and this one we were excited about.
We were.
Wait, is excited the right
past
word?
tense
Yeah.
in the phrasing of that sentence.
We were anticipating this movie, not hotly, lukewarmly.
Lukewarmly.
It seemed interesting.
It still seems interesting. Like, even after watching the film, I think there are a few things in this film that are just weird and unique, quite strange. So, we're going to be talking about Jagga Jasoos today. It's a Disney film which stars Ranbir Kapoor, Katrina Kaif, and Ranbir obviously plays Jagga, detective,
The
Jasoos,
Yeah.
yes. Detective who's in school?
Yes.
He's a grown-ass man. What is he doing in school?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
It's so weird to see
He's a really ripped 30-year-old
Dude.
hanging out with 17-year-olds.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know the funny thing is that they could have balanced the kids in school by using like slightly older people.
No, but the kids are kids.
But the kids are all kids, and he's this like Hodor style,
Yeah.
guy in the, anyway. But so before we get into talking about Jagga Jasoos,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about Disney and Disney's presence in India. Now, it kind of goes back to when Disney kind of entered, I think they had an FDI JV with UTV, Bindas.
Yes.
It was at the same time, I think Viacom and Network 18 kind of fused together and did
Yeah.
that scene. So we had that, and UTV was a big deal. I remember when Bindas started as a channel, it had all this college things, Bindas Campus something and all that stuff.
They could never figure out what they were, right? they went indie music for a while.
Oh, did they?
went, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember they sponsored a stage at Weekender.
Oh, that's so true. And that stage had like the worst sound. Oh my gosh.
It was the worst.
Yeah.
So they were like a cancel after that.
Okay.
Then they went reality show for a while. You remember that show where people would get their significant others to cheat on them and then catch them on camera?
What?
Yes.
That's what they did?
That's what they did.
Oh, good
Right after the
riddance.
indie music thing, they were like, well, this is not working.
Good
Let's go.
riddance.
Let's go to the dregs of
I
humanity.
mean, I
after
would
this.
watch the shit out of that, but good riddance.
Oh, no, it was terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. There were a few of these weird shows. Like, remember Love to Hate You with Arjun Rampal?
Yes.
One of my friends was actually
Was
on
that
the
a Bindas
episode.
show?
And I think it was a Star World show.
Yeah.
When Star World also succumbed and said, let's do reality TV. But anyway, coming back to UTV Bindas. So they did this whole scene. They tried to kind of get into the young people's space. And I think that fizzled out. So what is the status of UTV now? Do they not exist anymore?
No, UTV exists.
As
but
the film company.
The film company,
Yes.
I believe the name is not being used anymore. So how it works now is I think Disney's stakeholder, like a majority stakeholder in UTV.
Right.
So, like the Disney offices where the UTV offices used to
This
be.
is Andheri East
The
office,
Andheri
correct.
East, yes.
I've been there.
Yeah. So they, I think 4 or 5 months ago, shut down UTV Motion Pictures pretty much. So UTV, they're not making movies under UTV Motion Pictures anymore.
That's so sad.
I don't know
Didn't,
why,
lots of
because-
good movies came out. Ramde
Yeah.
Basanti and all that stuff was
Yeah.
under UTV, I think.
I think they're just not using the name anymore as well.
Okay. Wasn't Ronnie Screwwala also kind of associated with all these
Yes,
films?
I think he's out now. I'm not sure.
He's got bigger fish to fry.
He's
I'm
got
sure.
other stuff to do.
Yeah. So UTV is no longer. But shouldn't we be excited that Disney is in India?
So I don't know how different Disney being in India is from UTV being in India, because from what I can see, Disney basically like just puts their name on it, and it's not really like, it's not quality controlled or managed by Global at all.
Oh, see, that
It's
makes sense.
basically
because
Disney franchising themselves out to India.
What, with just the banner? Just literally them putting their brand on
No,
it?
I'm sure there's like an overall thing on it, but it's
Funding.
like McDonald's being in India. You'll get a McAloo Tikki here.
Okay. So it's not, Disney can't be franchised, right?
I mean, no, they can use their name, right? And
Yeah,
their
they
money.
can use their name, but like I'm saying, as in like, it can't be like saying, hey, you can use our name and you're the proprietor of this. But
Yes.
but I'm sure Disney would have a huge kind of QC kind of
Probably, but I guess what I
as
mean
well
is
as
it's
funding and
it's
an
not
agenda.
like,
You know,
yeah, they have an agenda, I'm sure, and I'm sure there's like a overall vision that Disney puts in. But it's not like John Lasseter's watching Jagga Jasoos and going like, you know what this could mean? Yeah.
No, but okay. So let's talk about a few of the films that they've done. So now, I mean, I feel like Disney put a lot of money into when Star Wars came back, right? Like when The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Didn't they kind of do a huge? I mean, we saw a lot of the promotion happen here in India,
They
but according
went
to
all
what,
out,
what you told me, it didn't fare that well.
It was one of their worst performing movies that year. I mean, of course, counting the Hindi movies as well.
So what have they done what has Disney done in terms of Hindi movies? I remember there was one with Fawad Khan.
Yes.
Who was
Where he played-
everyone's
He was a
heartthrob.
Disney prince.
Yeah, he
was
is
a
a
legit
Disney
Disney
prince.
prince.
In fact, I heard his name come up for when the casting for Aladdin also was going around, which they have cast now. So that's also interesting.
With a dude, right?
Mena Masood.
Mena Masood.
Yes.
I see.
So
there was that movie, Khoobsurat, which was
Khoobsurat, right.
Sonam Kapoor playing a Disney princess thing.
So on paper that makes complete sense, right? It looks like, why can't Disney just do a simple like Disney princess film, kind of subvert it to make it like more Indian, and then just have like a nice 90-minute rom-com in the style of The Princess Bride, not Princess Diaries, sorry. Yeah, something like that. Was that movie not something like
It
that?
didn't do too well from what I remember, and it was a pretty like time pass movie.
So why aren't Disney looking at their films closely enough to kind of get that quality control that they have on, say, their Star Wars films or any of the, of the Marvel films, etc.?
I think they're trying to cater to the Indian market, right? I mean, if you look at global, where Force Awakens was the biggest movie ever, then it didn't work as well here, Disney's obviously looking at India and going like, maybe we should let the experts do what they do and try and tweak our movies to work for the Indian audience.
Right. So I'm just, for example, this movie, Jagga Jasoos.
Yeah.
Big Disney branding. The poster looks excellent. A lot of the design looks really nice about this film, and it was promoted really
Maybe that's
well.
part of the Disney
Yeah,
QC.
it looks like quality, right? And the budget for this film was 110 crores.
Whoa.
And its box office has been 27, so it's not even made up it's not even broken even, even close to breaking even. So that's and obviously it's still in theaters right now, so it's fine. But I'm just trying to think, why is Disney not putting a really strong hold on their own content, especially if their name is attached, and if they're doing so badly in saying Khoobsurat, Jagga Jasoos not kind of cutting it, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Let me tell you some of the other movies they've done.
Yeah.
Since these are the two we can remember off the top of our head, I think because the Disney branding was upfront.
Right.
But they were a part of Dangal.
They were part of Dangal,
Yeah,
right?
so it was UTV Motion Pictures and Disney, which is
Was
again
Dangal
essentially
a
the same
Disney
thing.
film though? It was not branded that way.
Disney wasn't upfront, but it's on the Wikipedia page, so I guess it's legal now.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Then Apna Bhai Gajju Bhai, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Disney Channel India, so maybe it's a TV thing.
Okay, all right.
ABCD 2.
Okay.
So-
not the first one? Okay. That
Apparently
is
not.
strange. Never known Disney to jump on a franchise.
Jump in on a
halfway.
sequel, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm guessing a lot of this is all
just
the Hindi stuff is UTV
distribution.
Motion Pictures.
Yeah, so this movie,
basically.
Jagga Jasoos as well, is kind of been distributed by Disney. Now,
They also did Zokomon.
okay, so come on, right. That was a TV show which made
They
into a
did
movie.
Roadside Romeo. Huh.
Right, I remember that. That was the animated film starring Saif Ali Khan as a dog.
Correct.
And Kareena Kapoor, if I'm not mistaken.
Directed by Jugal Hansraj.
Oh,
poor guy trying to make a comeback. He was trying to be the Fred Savage of India. He's not.
Right.
But you see, they tried to do exactly what they do internationally in India. That's the first thing they did, Roadside Romeo, and it failed terribly.
I think it's just because they don't have a good control on their scripting and their storytelling. It's not strong enough. And it's so funny. Another Disney film which I saw recently by Meera Nair called Queen of Katwe. Okay, this made like waves all like on the Oscars and all that stuff. It's not a mind-blowing film. Okay, it's about a Ugandan girl who basically becomes really good at chess, and David Oyelowo kind of becomes a coach, and then she becomes like and it's based on a true story. And Meera Nair directed that, and it's a very insular kind of story about this. Katwe is is the poorest village in Uganda, and it's just about this girl kind of overcoming these odds, and and just like straight up Disney formula. I don't know if you've seen like movies like The Greatest Game Ever Played with Shia LaBeouf and stuff like that. Just straight up Disney formula. I'm just wondering, why can't they just take a really good formula and just put it in a Disney, like in a Hindi film? Like, I feel Jagga Jasoos had that potential.
Yeah.
But it's just so convoluted and messed up that they couldn't.
They kind of keep ending up falling through the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Jagga Jasoos was almost there, but then it fell apart.
Dude, like, we'll talk about Barfi also in a bit. But like, Barfi, if that was a Disney film, that makes sense, first of all, in my mind. It could have been easily a Disney film. Just big, loud kind of songs and musical pieces and stuff like that. But yeah, and just like a very good, well-made film. Yeah. Same director. And I'm just wondering, like, why?
I mean, maybe so. Disney probably saw Barfi and went like, "We could work with this guy." Yeah. They hired him, and then
this is what happened. He
fell short. Let's say.
Went over.
I don't want to be
ambitious.
like completely brutal on this movie because it has some great ideas and it's ambitious.
Cool. Let us talk about some of those great ideas.
Let's talk about Jagga. So the director is Anurag Basu,
right?
Who's been around for a long time now, more than 10, 12 years.
What is his repertoire like apart from Barfi? I feel like he's done some other.
Oh, he's done tons of stuff. So his first big breakout was Gangster. You remember that movie?
Right, with what's his name?
With Mohit Suri, the rapist, and Kangana Ranaut.
Okay, the amazing woman of our times.
Yes, the Yas queen of our country.
Yes, she's awesome. I love her.
That was her first movie. She was like 16 or something when it came out. Right. So he did that. He did Murder, dude.
He did Murder. He did Gangster.
He did Life in a Metro, which was a very good movie. I really liked that one.
It was okay. I had an issue with the ending.
Yeah,
but Shilpa Shetty, come on, man. Jesus.
It it felt very good at that time, I remember, because it was like an anthology-ish kind of movie.
It was at the same time, I think, movies like Mumbai Meri Jaan and all came out, which had these kind of vignette-y kind of stories. He also directed Kites.
Oh yes, of course he did Kites.
The international...
The movie that broke up Hrithik Roshan's marriage.
Is it that one?
That's the one.
Oh, really?
That's why he met Barbara Mori.
Oh, right, of course.
And then he went to Suzanne and went like, no Mori.
Oh, what?
Boom.
Well done. Well done. Oh man, what a shame.
He went to Suzanne and went like, hey, who has 3 thumbs and wants to get out of this marriage?
This guy.
Oh no.
But what is it with Indian movies naming their entire film about like literally every word? There's no like subtlety in the naming. It's run, plan, murder, gangster, kill. Crook.
I'll tell you what title
is just like the name.
This title has subtlety. Life in a ... metro.
Were they like coming up with the name and then just took a break and then found it?
Anurag Basu was like, this needs to be subtle. I need the metro to hit them.
I think maybe he was trying to go with like a sequel kind of thing with Life in a police station. Like Life in a weather balloon. I don't know, man.
Kites, by the way, was a big deal when it came out. It was. Also because it was an international production.
So, I remember this very clearly before we just take a break. This is what they did, okay? This is Rakesh Roshan's grand master plan. First of all, hiring Rajesh Roshan to do the music. Stop doing that, man. That he does not know how to make a song. I'm telling you, he's not good. All right. First of all, he made Kites and he had music in it, and then he made Kites Remixed. It was like a second cut of the film where they removed the songs and then just made the story and just sent it off to like all these international theaters.
Oh, so it was Kites no mixed.
Yeah, it was
this was the international cut.
Yeah, it was just, and why? The movie was so bad. And they made Hrithik Roshan sing a song in that, and it was so, and the song is like, kites, flying kites, something like that. I was just like, Hrithik.
Oh, Lord.
I think Hrithik Roshan thinks that he's the best thing ever. Like, that's what I think. And because of that, he just thought he was like so set for this international scene.
Yeah, they did it in a big way. At that time, if I remember correctly, it was one of the biggest Indian movies to open in the States ever.
Yeah.
And it was distributed in the US specifically.
Yeah.
And that's why they had Barbara Mori in it in the first place. They were like, let's go international.
Yeah, with Barbara Mori.
Yeah.
Could have been anyone. It literally was anyone. Barbara Mori. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, talk about Jagga Jasoos.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India. But unfortunately, most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started atkt.in. Hi, I'm Ankur. I'm a musician and a rapper. And I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through atkt.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
Right, we're back. We're talking about Jagga Jasoos. Go. Dinkar, what did you think of the film?
Let me unravel the mystery of Jagga Jasoos.
Let's unravel the good word. It's 3 hours, this film.
Well, yeah.
It's a daunting running time. Man.
It's an intimidating running time.
Yeah, very intimidating.
Let me run you through what Jagga Jasoos is about.
Sure.
So, Ranveer plays the titular Jagga.
Correct.
Who is a kid with a stammer.
Yeah.
And the entire conceit of the film is that when he's a kid, he comes across this, he rescues this man who falls off a train.
Yeah.
Who he starts calling Tutti Futti.
Yeah, because he's quite clumsy and
he's clumsy, so he's Tuta Futa. Yeah. So he becomes Tutti Futti.
Yeah.
So that guy teaches him how to get over the stammering by singing.
Yeah.
And this becomes a device for the entire movie. So it's pretty much played out like a sung-through Broadway musical where there's minimal dialogue.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love sung-through Broadway musicals.
Yeah. And it's the first time I'm seeing, like, when people said this was a musical, I was like, oh, it's got songs in the film.
Yeah, which I mean, like, all Bollywood movies are musicals in a sense.
But this is an actual musical.
It's done in the style of, like, a proper Broadway thing.
I was telling you this last night also when we saw the film, but it reminded me a lot of Baby Driver, which I don't think you've seen yet.
No, not yet.
So in Baby Driver, it's pretty much the same thing. So the character in that, he's got, like, tinnitus.
Mm-hmm.
So he always listens to music to keep the hum out of his ears, right? And in that, basically all the cues for every scene almost are cued to music.
Yes.
Which makes the entire kind of conceptually it's really cool. And I found that very similar in this film but this one is like everything is sung out and like so he needs a beat or he needs something to kind of go forward. So it reminded me a lot of Baby Driver in that way. And I think this one kind of did it like almost better. Not better, like, I mean, that one was timed immaculately, but this one, I like the idea that everything is sung out like a Broadway musical.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Baby Driver, I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen some interviews with Edgar Wright and stuff. So apparently the script was written to songs he'd picked out already.
It is, yeah.
But anyway, to get back to Jagga, so yes, the adoptive father, Tutti Futti, is in a hospital recuperating, which is where Jagga has been raised.
Yeah.
So for some reason, he just takes this 8-year-old kid and bounces.
Which I thought was weird. I thought he adopts him. And
I'm sure there was a legal process in there somewhere.
No, isn't it somewhere in the beginning he says all these other kids get adopted and he doesn't get adopted.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
something like that. And so because of that,
That was probably at R0. I lost track by R3.
Yeah, this is... Sure.
So the two of them go off and they're living like a happy Disney musically life together until Tutti Futti suddenly disappears for no reason. He drops Jagga off at a boarding school and goes like, I'll see you in like a couple of months, and he's out.
Yeah.
And then the only contact Jagga has with his dad is a VHS tape that he sends him every year on his birthday.
Right.
And in the meantime, Jagga grows up to be a curious boy who solves mysteries.
Yeah. Why again?
So the one-line explanation in one of the songs was that his dad leaving left him with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So his purpose in life became to answer questions.
Cool. I like that. Yeah. In fact, that entire first act of the film, I can't even say first hour because it just is that long. So in the entire first act, we kind of get this strange exposition of how the character is being explained. It's being explained by Katrina Kaif's character, who we don't know, seems to be some kind of teacher in a school. And she's explaining the stories to kids via like the books of Jagga Jasoos' adventures.
Yes.
So that's
the entire framing device. It's like the kids are putting together a play based on the books while she sings it out.
It felt unnecessary, to be honest.
It wasn't really needed. I don't know why they it seemed like it might be interesting, but it felt unnecessary because they never went anywhere with it. They were just
also
by the way, all this was happening in a play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which I'm not sure if it was by the end of it.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
But yeah. So we get to see a little bit of Jagga's investigative methods when there's a apparent suicide in their town. In Manipur, which is where the movie is set. In the Manipur, West Bengal sort of area. So there's a apparent suicide, and Jagga has this like giant. It's basically the expository speech from the end of Sherlock Holmes, but as a song. Where he pieces together the.
I thought that sequence was quite cool.
That was very good. At this point, I was pretty excited about this movie. I was like, this could be really fun. Then you go back to Katrina Kaif and she goes like, now let's move on to book 2. And from there, it was kind of downhill.
Yeah, I think, so what this movie tries to do is basically, obviously, set up Jagga as this guy who's really inquisitive and wants to know the answers to every question. But the one question that he can't solve is, where did his dad go? And I thought that was an interesting plot device, right? Like, so that plotting wise, I think it works till that point. And I thought, the moment we hit the intermission, I was like, okay, cool. The second half of the film is going to be about him trying to find his father, which it is. But there's this entire subplot which I felt so unnecessary about arms dealing and, weapons and, how his dad is involved in this entire smuggling ring, but is actually a good guy. And it seemed really complicated. And my other part, so I think it could have been done fine if this was a slightly more like maybe PG-13 film. But this is a kids film, alright? It's been advertised heavily as a kids film. And there are lots of moments in the film which we kept looking at each other thinking, this is really dark.
It does
like there's a lot of deaths and like they're singing about Khudkushi, farmers' suicide and all that stuff. And they're singing it in like major keys and with harmonies and stuff. And I'm just like, ye kya ho raha hai yahan pe? I mean, it's like, why are kids
I thought that could have been an interesting idea, except they, again, don't go anywhere
also,
with it. There's an entire song where they literally, like, it's a bunch of 8-year-olds singing like, Kisan mar rahe, humko kya?
Humko kya? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It felt like it could have been part of maybe like a Vishal Bharadwaj kind of film, where he takes really dark kind of topics and makes it comedic, right?
Like, but then he resolves them, right? Like, here at the end of the song, they just move on. Like, oh yeah, kids shouldn't care about this. There's no like moment where Katrina Kaif goes like, this is why you should care.
Exactly. Or like, again, like if this was like a Guy Ritchie film or something, that could have been like done like as a dark comedic take. But this is not
it doesn't come together.
Film.
I feel like that was the intention, but it just didn't come together. And this is the case with everything he does. Like, the starting is adultery and murder, which is fine. I mean, we read Agatha Christie when we were kids. The next one is Naxalites. In Manipur.
Which is the strangest kind of thing to kind of, I mean,
that's a politically dicey area to get into.
It's a dicey area. I'm surprised nobody has talked about it. As of now, I've not seen anything in the media. But like for something that is still such an unresolved, delicate kind of thing, they've used it as a big part of this and also tried to make this very Tintin, James Bondian kind of adventure out of it. Seems really absurd. And I think that's what works a lot for the film and also makes it fall short so heavily. It's like there's a lot of absurd moments in this movie, right? Which for me, some parts I enjoyed. I really like that it's weird. It just automatically makes it different. Like him trying to do this beatbox and sing, these words when he's trying to communicate makes it like weird but interesting.
But in a very cool way.
But when they talk about like, oh, this one was killed or this one, I was just like, it's strange, man.
It's a weird one. Even the big case, the Purulia arms drop, which is what he finds out his dad is embroiled in, is a real thing that happened. And it's like it's still a big unresolved case in the country's history.
Correct.
So, like,
it's
again...
the whole Burma, the route of how they're also transporting.
Yeah, so basically in West Bengal in the mid-90s, there was a bunch of like guns that fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
And they apprehended the plane that did it. And we still don't know exactly who dropped those arms.
Yeah.
And they work, that is the main plot of the story.
Yeah, it's a
So you can see what he intends to do, which is use like the real world and like all this serious stuff and treat it with this kids Disney musically kind of feel, but I think it just doesn't come together.
It doesn't come together. I think tonally it's quite even in the film. Like, even though it's like they're talking about the worst sounding things, it's still, in this light, airy kind of way.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't think it comes together.
He can't stitch it for some reason.
Like, like other absurdities that I enjoyed, okay, were like Ranbir and Katrina, who are like caught in this, whole thing, and they're about to be shot to death. Mm-hmm. But their expressions are like, oh, we're not scared. It's like, it's just like, oh, this is another, shenanigan we're part of. I like that kind of absurdity. Like, I like that they just on the, kind of figuring out on the go. I like that kind of stuff, because then it keeps it really like Amelie, like very light and weird. But there's some moments which are just silly, like, I don't understand it. Like,
it's inconsistent
it's quite
throughout the film. That's the problem, I think.
I think Ranbir mostly does a good job. I think he holds whatever his character is supposed to be.
Yeah, he did it okay. I just have an issue with a couple of things that he always does. One is, he's a jacked 30-year-old.
Yeah, man.
Like, when he's standing in line at assembly with the kids, you can clearly see, like, his shirt is just hanging differently. He's got this, like, V shape going, and all the other kids are, like, these scrawny little things. So, he just looks off
He could have just made himself, like a little scrawnier for this role.
Yeah, man. Lose some muscle mass. Bring it back later.
I don't think that concept exists here.
It does. I mean, like, Amir Khan did it for 3 Idiots.
I was saying bulking up exists, but losing weight for a role doesn't
exist. Amir Khan did it for 3 Idiots.
He lost weight?
Yeah, remember how he looked like a legit college kid? And then he got jacked up immediately after.
He sold that role better than Ranbir did for this.
Yeah, and he was like in his 40s at that point.
Yeah, Amir Khan's a weird guy, man. Anyway.
But I think Ranbir wasn't committed enough to do it. Or actually, to be fair to him, this movie took about like 2.5 years to film, apparently.
Yeah,
he couldn't have been scrawny for that long. So he's got to make the bucks.
I suppose. Okay, so I think Katrina can't act. She should retire.
Oh, wait. The other thing that annoys me about Ranbir Kapoor, before we get to Katrina, where there's a whole lot of stuff to talk about, is he does this thing in every movie where when he wants to be quirky, he does this like weird dance kind of thing where he just like sticks his butt out and goes like boop, boop, boop. And I'm like...
surely that's Shiamak Davar's fault.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's on Shiamak Davar.
He is the choreographer. He's still getting employed. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Here's a piece of trivia.
You know how he was a guru who got arrested and stuff, right?
Guess who opened for Bryan Adams in Bombay?
Shiamak Davar?
Yes.
Wait, musically?
He sang, and you will really appreciate this, With or Without You by U2.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Shiamak Davar had a reasonably decent album in the 90s.
He had that one song which was okay.
Mohabbat Kar Le. Mohabbat Kar Le Re.
Yeah, that's the one. Nice, good impression. No, good Shiamak Davar impression.
He had 2 songs.
He had another cool one.
Yeah, the slower one, right?
Yeah, the funky one.
Jhoot Bole Kawa Kade. Oh yeah, he had Jhoot Bole Kawa Kade.
I was not talking about
in a Rishikesh Mukherjee movie. I love that song.
Okay, is it like the Jhoot Bole Kawa Kade? That,
that's the one. Oh my
gosh, that was not good, guys.
What? It was a great song.
It was
really a very nice movie as well.
Well, you should have seen him sing With or Without You.
Yeah, that might have changed my mind.
With his entire dance troupe.
Or I should have gone for one of his guru classes.
Yeah.
Though apparently that didn't end up well for the kids in it.
Shiamak Davar is... did you see the wax statue of Ranveer Singh? Yeah. That looks like Shiamak Davar, man. That's so strange.
Shiamak Davar is a walking wax statue. That can dance pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, God. That is so funny. Okay. So, coming back. So Katrina Kaif, though.
Huh.
She's really cute. And she's really pretty.
Yeah.
Like, and and in this movie, I'm glad they didn't like over sexualize her character, like make her wear like, Zara Zara touch me types, like clothes. But like, it's good. Like, she's
nothing with sequins.
And yeah, exactly. And she's cute and stuff in this movie. But the girl can't act.
No.
She can't, dude. She doesn't know how to emote.
She tries to do the same like deadpan quirky thing that Ranbir pulls off.
Yeah.
And she doesn't quite nail it. I'm like, you're not being deadpan because you're doing a deadpan thing.
You're being
deadpan.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I think this role was made for her, but it's not.
But here's the thing, though. I think out of the entire cast, I think Tutti Frutti was probably the best.
Tutti Frutti was
he's the most
solid.
consistent. Yeah, he's a good actor.
He's the legendary Bob Biswas from Kahani.
Oh yeah, he's a great actor, man.
Yeah.
He was really solid. Like, he performs like his role well. I mean, for the entire screen time that he got. I think
Shashwat Chatterjee or something like that.
That's his name.
The villain played by Saurabh Shukla, I also thought was pretty decent.
I mean,
the guy, like, he's just playing Saurabh Shukla pretty much. That's the role he does in every movie, and he was fine.
And okay, we'll get to the real villain at the end of this, the most bizarre thing about this movie. But anyway, we'll get to that. Alright, so that's Jagga Jasoos. At least that's what we thought about it. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about maybe how Disney needs to approach its films and maybe take it forward with their marketing.
Hi, I'm Amit Verma, the host of the weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen. In my show, I examine the seen effects and the unintended consequences of public policy and private action. I show how policies meant to help the poor often end up hurting the poor. I've done episodes so far on demonetization, GST, surgical strikes, immigration and MRP. And I will continue my forensic assault on the truth in the weeks to come.
Catch the show every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer. Or visit seenunseen.in for all the latest updates.
Hey guys, we're back. We're talking about Jagga Jasoos. Now we're talking about Disney, actually. I think a lot of the actors were let down by bad sync issues. I don't know if it's for. So
I don't know how that's possible.
Major technical problems. And why we talked about Disney in the beginning of this episode is because I expect a certain type of quality, in terms of just the visual quality or like the technical production quality of the film. And this one let me down in a huge way, man. I think a couple of things. One was the audio treatment. Now, there's a lot of musical, staging in this film. A lot of the dialogue is sung. And that transition between real dialogue, like captured on set, that and its immediate shift to kind of song, that was badly transitioned. Like, it would be suddenly this really compressed, processed like audio that would kick in at any point of time, and it suddenly stop. And the sync is bad. Like, the actors didn't sync them well. They didn't lip sync it well enough.
I feel like that was so easy to fix.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's happening.
Badly.
There's a moment where Katrina Kaif says,
"Oh my God,
help."
this is the worst. Yeah.
And 3 minutes later, her lips move for the word.
Yeah, no. It was her lips move like this. Yeah. And then, like, you can hear the word help, like, literally 5 seconds later. And I was just like, what? How could they let that pass? That was one.
Idea.
The other thing is that morph edit. There was one edit in the film where clearly Ranbir, I mean, they must have ran out of shots or something. And in the shot, which is quite a long, like, 5-second shot, it suddenly kind of
his
morphs,
face just
transitions.
like morphs. And I think they hope people wouldn't notice.
Wow, how
I'm
did
guessing
they do
what
that on the
happened
silver
was,
screen? Yeah.
in that scene, Ranbir turns towards Katrina and raises an eyebrow. And in between the turn and the raising of the eyebrow is where the cut happens. There's probably like a couple of lines of dialogue there that they wanted to get rid of.
Oh my God, just don't have the shot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cut to a reaction shot of her.
Reaction shot. And the other thing, the CGI in this film is a huge letdown, man.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
really
again
bad.
very inconsistent. Some parts it was fine.
Some parts it was fine. But all the stuff with the animals in them, in
that was
Africa,
just off. It's like they cut and paste stuff from a BBC documentary.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the grain on those are much stronger. They're very saturated. There's a scene which is like, I guess, a big part of the posters and stuff, where they're riding these emus.
Yeah.
And like, it just looks like such amateur green screen stuff, man.
It's weird. And by the way, let's get to this Africa and animal business.
Mumbaka.
The entire second half takes place in Mumbaka, which is where Jagga goes to find his dad.
Which was shot in Morocco, I believe.
Yeah, it does have this very like
Middle Eastern
vibe, African look. Katrina Kaif goes along for, I'm trying to explain this better than it's done in the movie, but basically Jagga goes like, you're very clumsy and and
bad
unfortunate
lucky.
like my dad.
Yeah.
There's an entire musical number called Tum Dono Bad Lucky that explains it. So his logic, and up until this point, he's been like a man of science, right? The world's greatest detective. But he goes like, you're unlucky, my dad was unlucky, so why don't you come with me and that'll help me find my dad somehow.
Right. So I didn't mind it as much. I think they used it well, and they do execute. There's a payoff to that.
Yeah,
which happens, which I was expecting, and they did it. But I thought, like, I mean, for me, the only way I saw it was that, this girl just reminds him of his dad, and he just wants her
Which
to
makes
be
it
with him.
way weirder that he wants to dink her. Right? She's like, you're exactly like my dad. Let's do it.
It's a weird opposite Oedipus kind of thing, I suppose.
It's in halfway between an Oedipus and an Electra.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But, but the thing is that I just think, I mean, I didn't mind it as much, to be honest. Like, I just thought it was, this girl, he reminds me so much of his father, who he loves, and he just finds the
He's
same
like,
thing.
come along with me. Okay, that's fine.
I think it was fine. I think, and, there's that moment where, she falls off that little staircase, and the guy from that...
That was a nice touch. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Where he says, there's only been one other person who's fallen off this place. And that's how they find... And that's cool. I thought that's kind of cool. That was well written. But, oh my God, the dub for this African gentleman in this thing, they got a Malayali dude to kind of dub him. And it was so funny. Oh my God. How can they let things like this go?
Actually, there was one man who also fell off.
I was like, how can they let this pass? How do they allow this? It just boggles the mind.
It's a sad one. Another thing I had sort of an issue with is the Mumbaka setting is clearly a reason to just go quirky for not much payoff.
Oh yeah, sure.
So the entire promo is based around them in this African wonderland riding on emus and stuff. That doesn't actually happen in the movie. In fact, the entire role of the landscape and the animals is they'll be in the foreground of a shot while a car drives in the background. Yeah, that's it. And that's about it.
But I feel like Anurag Basu's entire style has been these wide, vista shots.
Now it is.
Yeah, yes. I mean, in Barfi and all, and he's been doing. He's a big visual guy. He's always these oversaturated things. I didn't think this was as tight as Barfi in that sense. The saturation of were tinted with these really weird bluish kind of. It just ruined the natural color of what I expected from the posters and the trailers. I just didn't find it in this film, and it kind of bothered me. I think overall, though, I think by that second act, by the time they're in Mumbaka, I thought they would find him and it was done. And then there's another sequence, there's a sequence after sequence. And by that third hour, I was out, man. I checked out, tapped out. I was just like, this is way long. And you can tell that entire last sequence where basically they find themselves in this army kind of military unit, this camp, and they're trying to, clandestinely kind of go through it and find this guy. It just feels so rushed. It feels like they must have spent a lot of money on that set and that entire setup, and
then they realized they were already hitting 3 hours of movie.
And they just rushed through that so quickly.
Yeah.
And they also, very quickly tie up a few loose ends about, these airdropping.
You can see the seams because there's clearly, there's clearly meant to be, at least half an hour extra of this movie, I think.
Yeah.
And at one point, they just skip from, point A to point D with a couple of quick voiceovers and then this happened and we kind of fixed the entire thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking also the finding, finally when they unite at the end, where he's going to find his father, I thought that would be a really special moment. I was waiting for a really good kind of moment where they'd find each other. Maybe Finding Dory, the ending of Finding, the movie is not that great, but I still remember that ending. It really kind of...
It does hit you.
It hits you. In this, it kind of really falls short, man.
I don't know why.
Especially since it could be a really meaningful thing. I really liked the father, and I bought into the role. I was invested in it. But I just felt their meeting is just it's so random.
Yeah.
There's no meaning to it, he just literally finds him in the desert, and they sing the song to each other, and that's fine. But it just didn't feel
It just didn't hit the right buttons. I don't know. Let's look at this from a macro sense. I think this movie had great ideas in terms of its style and treatment.
Yeah.
Even the characters were actually pretty solid. There's some depth and some
depth. Yeah, you're giving
there's some genuineness to them.
Yeah.
The plot somehow just lets everything down.
My problem, I think, is that Anurag Basu has such a vast collection of ideas, and he tries to stuff the film with every idea.
Maybe
it feels overstuffed with ideas.
True.
And I'd say 60% of them or 70% of them are not executed as well. And if he just cuts the fat on this thing, I can take an edit of this film and you can cut this movie to 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
And you can have a good film.
And fix some sync issues.
Yeah, sync issues. Like, I feel like as an exercise, they should just have a director's cut which is shorter than the original. It would be so much better, man. Like, it would be a nice, tight film. I think Barfi doesn't overstay its welcome. And even if it does, all of the parts feel like,
They work as a whole,
They
right?
work, yeah.
This movie is less than the sum of its parts.
That's exactly what this film is. Yeah,
which is a shame because, I love the ambition of it. I love that it's trying to do something so different.
Yes. And it is different. I'll put it that way. This didn't come across as your regular Bollywood film in the sense that I'm glad there was not a heavy romance angle to it, and at the same time I like that they use music differently in this film. So I think for those two reasons alone, I think it stands out as something sort of different from what we see. Yeah.
It just it feels like a bit of a letdown, especially because it was trying something so cool that I mean, man, if this was a successful experiment, we'd see more in this mold.
Yeah.
But
I'd still watch another movie by this guy. I think he has... I think,
it's a small misstep in the grand scheme of things.
It's weird, but I think it's the same thing for Edgar Wright that I feel. I mean, without, saying too much about Edgar Wright, I think Edgar Wright, and this is what I've been saying, is that his indie stuff never makes the cut.
What?
I don't think... I always think...
What are you talking about?
So here's why.
The man's never made a bad movie.
I don't disagree with you. I think all his movies are good.
Yeah.
But I think he's never lived up to his potential. Okay? Now, if you think about it...
Even though he made the best movie in the world, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
So Scott Pilgrim is his best film.
Yes.
And it's his best film because he has a big production house attached to it. Okay? I kind of wish that Disney did Ant-Man with him. Because I think that would have been his best film, Maybe. I think he needs somebody to kind of put him in place. Because he has conceptually a lot of really good ideas. Shaun of the Dead, I think for me, falls short towards the end. I think tonally it goes another way.
Yeah.
Okay? Hot Fuzz, I think, is his best film. Okay, out of those three. At World's End is an average film.
It's not bad, yeah.
It's okay.
It's fun.
It's okay. And Baby Driver as well. I think the first half is conceptually amazing. And I think he gets so lost within his own ideas that his plot kind of just wavers.
Maybe
so I think
he needs a Simon Pegg to rein him in.
But Simon Pegg has been in all his films. He needs... I mean, he's been...
Have you seen Spaced?
I have, the two of them? Yes. But again, different format, different kind of scene.
I mean, apples and oranges.
Yeah. So in this case, I think similarly for Anurag Basu, I think, I feel like it's the opposite, maybe Disney came in and kind of ruined the thing. He was doing his own thing and he had it down maybe. And I don't know, maybe. Let's see what he has.
I don't know how much Disney came in. Okay, let me give you some insider scoops here.
Hit me, dog.
I've done work for Disney.
Sure,
right?
so have I, by the way.
Yeah, we all have. I've done stuff for their marketing and whatnot. Jishnu has as well. I've given him, outsourced a bunch of our stuff to him. So when we do this work, sometimes it astonishes me that we're working for freaking Disney.
Yeah.
And it feels the same as working for anyone else. There's no global calls being taken or anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quality control on...
Standards and practices, I think, has the biggest... that's the most amount of time I've ever spent doing stuff for Disney is where when we work with them, everything gets cleared pretty much easily. And then when it goes to S&P, it takes the most amount of time because they take a lot of care.
They're very fussy about
that.
If
you have any person in the frame while you're shooting something on the street, you have to get signatures from everyone. So they take a lot of care, which is why, I feel like the nightmare I was telling you about, just having animals in this film must have been a real thing for them, So, I was watching the Hollywood Reporters Roundtable Talks, and the director's episode has Meera Nair in it, and she's talking about Queen of Katwe, and she's just Disney is so taut with their, reign on a film when you're making it that, if you work from, and she was working with a bunch of kids, so that comes with another level of practices, and formats and things like that. So they were only allowed to shoot for maybe 6 hours a day, and their parents have to be on set. And she, would try and stretch the art. She's like, in India we can do those things, where we push it here and there just to get maybe a shot or two in after the time. But 6 o'clock means 6 o'clock. Your session is over. If your shift is over, your shift is over. It's done. You are not picking up the camera again.
So maybe this is Disney in the US, because Disney in India, a lot of it is like any other company. Like the work we've done for them, you can see that like it's the same as working with like YRF or whoever. Because
is it the UTV part of it? I don't think Disney has a big team in India, which is exactly
they basically just started using the UTV team, right?
Yeah.
And even now, the team that works as Disney India also works as UTV. So maybe it's that. And S&P is probably where like a lot of the it has to be so and so comes in.
Yeah.
But in terms of the quality and especially the creative, there's not.
Yeah.
Like I've got promos for The Force Awakens, dude, and I'm like, how am I doing this? How is this cool?
Yeah. Man, it's a strange one. I don't know. I think Disney really needs to kind of get more...
Actually turn up here?
Yeah. They need to get more of their people, maybe to kind of... I don't know what they could be doing better. Like, just have like a team that kind of overlooks like, like a story group, like what Lucasfilm has or something like that.
I think their approach here is basically like, you guys do your thing and we'll like help out.
No, but even if you get some of the best talent from India and just create a story group, like big companies have that, to keep their work consistent and have the same themes kind of reiterate themselves in the right way and stuff like that. I'm sure Lucasfilm itself, must be having a story group where they're saying like, okay, cool, now we need to like be consistent with like maybe a trend in the world, which is maybe feminism, or have like more inclusion, or be more like diverse and things like that. Those are big parts of their story group team, I'm sure, where they have to be like, they have to think about all these things and come up with like cut the fat off like their storytelling and things like that. I think that's what they need here.
Maybe they should implement that model. But then I don't know, the Indian film industry works in a very different
strange ways.
Yeah, like I can't see a story group telling Anurag Basu this is how you should do your movie, and him saying, all right, fine, you guys have a point.
You gotta learn to live with it. I mean, that's why Joss Whedon left Marvel.
True.
And that's why Edgar Wright didn't make Ant-Man, but Marvel's the biggest company in the world, and for good reason.
That culture shift will probably take a while, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for this.
I believe even in our current format of working, I mean, you don't even necessarily need a Disney to step in. There's like great people with great ideas.
Exactly.
If any studio just took the initiative.
No, I'm saying where Disney has the power to recruit the right minds.
Yeah.
Like Shekhar Kapoor, like whatever. Get the kind of like what Graphic India may be doing, with like getting like some like form of a brain trust in. It's weird to say this, but maybe that is the way to kind of do it.
Maybe that is the way.
Yeah. So anyway,
someone's got to do it.
Someone has to do it.
And Disney has the advantage of having done it internationally.
And the funds.
Yeah. But man, someone just do it. Yeah. It's cool.
All right, cool. So that's Jagga Jasoos.
Go and enjoy it.
Yeah, go and watch the film. I think just give it a shot. Like, see what you guys think. Let us know what you thought of the film.
I have spoken to a couple of people who actually really enjoyed it.
No, I won't say I didn't enjoy it.
But well,
I won't say I didn't enjoy it. I was let down a lot.
Yeah,
by a lot of things. But I didn't go in with very high expectations. I didn't think you did either.
No.
So I think
we
were
were let down.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that was our show. If you have any thoughts on Jagga Jasoos, Disney, or any other film, let us know. And write to us, contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. You can go to our website, geekfruit.in. There's a contact tab there. You can find us on social media at GeekFruitHQ on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Dinks, what are you on Twitter, man?
I am at Dinks.
And I am at Tejas. Cool.
All right.
See you later, you nerds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out IVM Podcasts to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.